Hi everybody. It's time for a video, don't you think? I think so. I've heard from a couple of you that also thought maybe it was time for a video. Thank you, I appreciate. It's always crazy to me that anyone cares how many videos I make or when, so it always cheers me up when someone says they would like to see a video, because you must enjoy them, right? I have 2 finishes from my last video, I think. These are the only 2 finishes I have. I hope that's all. I don't have notes today. I'm throwing this together, so I hope it goes okay. Or I should say, I hope I remember everything. I finished Victorian Charm. It's a Dimensions kit. It was a Mania start in 2018. Just washing that out a little. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's the kit fabric and the kit threads, and I did it exactly according to the directions. I didn't change anything. I had plenty of floss. Oh, I put it away. Plenty of floss. I did not have a problem with there not being enough floss, except for one color. I ran out of black. And I don't think it was because there wasn't enough in the kit or because I stitched extravagantly with the black. I honestly think that I lost a couple of the pieces. You know how they get stuck to you and you find them somewhere else in the house? And I'm sure I looked at it because I vaguely remember finding a big, like several strands of black and thinking, where did this come from? But it was just black. So I thought, I don't need to worry about this. I'll just throw it away and get out some more DMC black when I figure out what project that came out of. Not realizing that it came out of this one. But it wasn't a big deal. I just pulled out some DMC black. I ran out. All I had left was these fence, that wrought iron fence left to go. So it didn't matter that it was it was just a slightly different color black, but it didn't matter. I mean, if you were halfway through this and changed to that, you could probably have seen it in these trees. But down here you can't tell. I love it. I'm so excited that it's done. It was truly a joy to work on it. And then one of my Mania starts this last May in 2019 was the red door by Elizabeth's Designs. And I finished that. I changed the colors. I think almost all of the colors. The white is the same. It came with a floss to do the door, but I wanted the floss to be a little more variegated, so I picked some out of some silk out of my stash and stitched it with that. But the rest is cotton. I changed, the porch was supposed to be gray, and I changed it to this kind of sandstone color. The pots were supposed to be a gold color, and I changed them to a terracotta color. And the flowers were supposed to be purple and yellow, and I changed mine to all yellow. I tried to do kind of a darker yellow on the outside and a lighter yellow on the inside. But there's my red door. At least the door is still red, right? So it can be the red door. Those are my 2 finishes. So I'll jump into WIPs. Oh dear, where did that come from? This is Disneyland by Nenny Designs, N-E-N-I, on Etsy. This is 40 count dwarf. Picture this plus, I believe, and I'm doing it 1 strand over 2 threads. My goal for this in February was I do it in 100 by 100 10 by 10 block squares, which makes 100 stitches. And my goal was 2 a week. So I wanted to get 8 squares done in February, and I did. I finished this up here and then came along down here and finished these. Working on the Matterhorn and part of It's a Small World. Mel on Patchy Pony Stitcher showed she's working on a full coverage piece, and she had needle minders that someone had made specifically to wrap these threads around. So you can have several needle minders. You know, the ones from this section could go over here around this needle minder and this section down here, because sometimes you have them kind of pulled out of the way in different directions. But it was a needle minder where they had, I'm trying to remember, Mel, was it a shank button glued to a magnet so that, you know what I mean, the buttons with the little loop on the back with the hole through it. It was either that glued to a magnet so you could wrap the threads around the shank of the button, or I think you could also glue a little flat, thick button to the back of a needle minder so it made the needle binder stick up off of the magnet, and you could wind it around that. But I thought that was a brilliant idea, and I'm going to make some with my E6000 glue. That is the best glue for needle minders, that E6000 glue. It stays on forever. No popping off. Stitching Shelf by Heaven and Earth Designs had the same goal. I wanted to do 8 squares in February. And I did. Oh, it's not going to work very well. Got a backlight today. Here's where that is. I finished this whole row here. It's the edge of this great big window that looks outside. So that one's coming along nicely as well. Very pleased with that. It's 25 count even weave, 1 strand of floss over 1 fabric thread. When it's finished, it will look like this, although I have the version without the medallion in the middle. But I am up here working on the edge of that window. Peaceable Kingdom was the only one that did not get its goal met in February. I was hoping to get 8 hours in on it, and I think it only got about 6. I worked on I finished all the lettering up here and then started on this little tree. And I think I did the squirrel and part of the grass, I think, since you saw it last. This one's hard to show. Can't see what I'm doing. But that one's coming along, thank goodness. But I unroll it so you can see the top. I never show you the top. So here is the top. It's in 3 sections. The middle section has the big house. And I'm working on the bottom. That is it was a class project by Catherine Theron. You can only get it by taking the class from her, but she still teaches this pattern and still teaches the class around the country several times a year. My Tuesday piece in February was Arcade by Long Dog Samplers. I wish this color showed up better on camera. It's a lot prettier than it shows. This shows a very gray green. It's more of a yellow green. That's where that is. I have one whole tree done. I finished the bottom of the tree and came over here and started on the bottom of this tree next to it. I love all the little things that show up as you're stitching. These little birds with the fancy tails and you can't see it on that one, but they have fancy hair on their head as well, feathers on their head. Lots of fun. That is Silks for You floss on 40 count Valor. Picture this plus linen. 1 strand over 2 threads. My Thursday piece this for February. Oh, I got the tissue out and everything. Oh, there it is. Whenever I film, my nose starts to run. My Thursday piece was Long Dog Sampler Day and Night. This is what it will look like. And here's where it is. Thoroughly enjoying this project. This has been so fun. Super fun. It's the called for DMC, 1 strand over 2 fabric threads, and it is 40 count. Picture this plus Valor. Oh dear. So if this is Valor, oh, the other one is on, Arcade is on Conifer, not Valor. It's this one that's Valor. I thought I'd put the bins up where you could see them this time. Of course, now you can't see the big mess I'm making on the floor. Of course, you never see that. But this is my bin that I keep up next to my stitching chair up in the sunny room, in the solarium. That usually has all the current WIPs in it. On Ash Wednesday, which is 40 days before Easter, I started Lost No More. It's a Dimensions kit. It's based on artwork by Greg Olson. I've had it in my stash for a long, long time, probably 10 or 12 years. But I thought it would be a great piece to work on leading up to Easter as I get ready for Easter. I have his staff done, and I'm working on his shoulder of his robe right there. And he's upside down. That's better. I try and work on it at least 40 minutes every day. But it's coming along really fast. Lots of blended threads, lots of color changes, shading. This is how many, I have the colors in bags, quite a few colors. But it has, I copied the pattern because it's on one great big sheet of paper. And I copied the legend where it tells you all of the symbols and the colors, and cut and pasted it all so it would all be on one piece of cardstock, so I could have it all on one. And then the symbol chart did not have the numbers of the floss that it lists in the directions. You know, light brown is this number. So I wrote with a pen the numbers next to them because I needed, the baggies have the number on them, not the name of the color. So I wrote the numbers on here. So this is my legend while I'm stitching. And there's some green symbols on the chart is color coded. It's either red, black, or green. And the green is really hard to tell from the black, so on my legend here, I marked the green colors with the highlighter so I could tell which ones were. Sometimes when I'm tired and I just glance over at it, I didn't realize that the symbol I was looking at was supposed to be green, not the green one, not the black one. And then this one has, as you can tell, this whole column, clear down to the bottom, is blended threads. All of those symbols are blended threads. Some of them are full cross and some of them are half cross. So when it's time to use a blended thread, I pull each of the colors of strands, one strand of this color and one strand of that color, and I put them together and I stitch with them. But then when I'm done with it and I have some of it still left for this piece, because there's so many, I decided to do it this way. Two of these cards came with the kit. So I'm just using it to store the blended threads until when I have some left over. And then the next time I need that blended thread, I'll use this one until it's all used up, and then I'll put two more together, and after I'm done stitching with that, if I have some left over, I'll put them on the card next to their symbol. But that just helps me keep all the blended threads organized so I can find them quickly. I know there are several people out there who are also stitching something for the 40 days leading up to Easter. My friend Colette Kingsley, she's the highway stitcher. She and I decided to use a hashtag. It's hashtag Easter40Focus. If you want to follow that on Instagram, or if you'd like to use it, join us in the stitch along and use that hashtag. I'll search for that hashtag occasionally so I can see what you're all working on. But I'm very pleased with how fast that's going. It got probably 2 or 3 hours on Ash Wednesday, and then ever since then it's probably gotten at least an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. I know I won't always be able to do that much on every day, so I'd like to get at least 40 minutes a day until Easter. I'll keep working on it after that. It'll probably stay my daily 30 piece for a while. This is Band of Roses, 1845 by Cross Stitch Antiques. I usually work on this on Sundays for a little bit. My goal in February was to finish the second row, and I did. This is what it's looking like. I need to cut that extra fabric off now that I know where the end is. And I have started on the third row, which starts a new alphabet, which in a slightly lighter blue. I am using the called for DMC, except for this top part. I wanted to use silk because the DMC wasn't covering very well, and silk covers a little better. It's a little fatter. So I chose an Belle Soie color that was almost the exact same color as the 823 that this called for. And then when I got to this color, which I think was 3750 DMC, I just went through my silk floss stash, because I'd still like these alphabets to have nice full coverage on them, and found a color that was very similar, but it's an over-dyed. So I could tell you the name of the color, but if you went and bought it, it might not be the same color. It is a Dinky Dyes Pacific Ocean. This is the, can't hold on to everything today. This is the 3750 color, and then this is the Dinky Dyes color. I think it's looking very nice. It is on, oh, and my goal in March is to finish the 3rd row. And to figure out what I'm doing about my initials. It's supposed to have my initials up to the right hand side of the 1st row, kind of. And I would like to put them on there, but I can't make it fit with the alphabet they're using. I have to figure out what to do. I'll have to use a different alphabet or cut it down a little bit. It's on 40 count maritime white lakeside linen. Okay, the Linen and Threads 2020 Stitch Along, which has been named Friends and Family Quaker. I finished the February section. I have not started on the March section yet. Okay, this has been a process. The night I wanted to start it, like that night. Didn't want to wait to go buy floss, didn't want to order it, wanted to start it. So I looked through all my floss and I found this beautiful silk color that was a really dark blue but had some nice variegation in it. And it was beautiful. And I loved it. And it was Belle Soie Blue Lagoon. So I thought, okay, I'll use that one and maybe a little bit lighter blue, and then I want to use this, some of this green, which is Silicon Colors Alpine Grasses. So I started it. I used this, and then I got online and ordered some more Belle Soie Blue Lagoon. I stitched this motif up here. And then it came in the mail. And I had picked out some Belle Soie Mare Blue to be the lighter blue. So this is what I was ordering. I wanted like 4 more skeins of this color. And then I already had 2 or 3 of the Mare Blue, so I figured I'd be good. Well, the Blue Lagoon I got in the mail was the same color as my lighter Mare Blue. Not anywhere near to this dye lot that I had. Isn't that funny? So but I ordered like 4 or 5 skeins of it. So I had quite a bit. So I thought, okay, maybe most of the sampler could be this lighter blue, and I'll just use this in a couple of places. I'll still use the green. So then I stitched all of this and not the letters, but these, all in that lighter Blue Lagoon. But I wasn't really happy, and then I put the butterfly on with the green. But I thought, no, I'm just not happy with that. I'd really like the darker blue. I need to find a darker blue that I like. So then I got on 1, 2, 3 Stitch and just by eye, looking at the screen, ordered any silk on their site that looked like it might be a good blue. And got like 6 different ones and got them all in the mail. Trying to find a darker blue. And the only one that was even close, that was a really nice dark blue in the right tone, was this Dinky Dyes Midnight. So I thought, okay, that's a pretty dark blue. It's a pretty color. I'll use that. So I stitched this with that Midnight. And then I stitched the letters. In my Disneyland piece, I have some Glorianna In The Navy that I was using. That's mostly DMC, but I'm using wherever there's huge patches of dark blue, I'm using that In The Navy because I liked the variegation. And it's a nice, deep, dark blue In The Navy is. So I used it on the initials. And I just kept looking at those initials and thinking, that's the color I want. I want that In The Navy. Well, my LNS doesn't have Glorianna In The Navy. 1, 2, 3 Stitch at the time, I don't know if it does now, did not have any In The Navy in stock. So I couldn't order it and just wait for it because they won't even let you order it if they don't have it in stock. So I just thought, oh my word, is this going to be one of those colors that's just out forever and you're never going to find it? And then I happened to be in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago and went to Stitcher's Paradise. for the first time. I had never been there. That is the most wonderful store. You drive up to it and it's in a strip mall and you're thinking, okay, it's just this average looking little strip mall, tiny little storefront. But you go in and it goes back a long ways, and she has more inventory in the organized into that tiny little space than I have ever seen in my life. Small store, ton of merchandise, every silk I'd ever heard of, every cotton I had ever heard of, brands I hadn't even heard of that I didn't even know about, fabric, patterns, oh, just a ton of stuff in there. Everything I had ever wanted to see was in there. And she had Glorianna in the Navy. So I bought 4 skeins. I would have bought 5, but I didn't want to take her last one off the shelf. But I figured 4 would be plenty. Oh, my floss fell on the floor. So now I have several skeins of Glorianna in the Navy. So then, when I got from Las Vegas, I stitched all of this with In the Navy and this and these letters. So now I have, what is that? 5 different colors on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 different colors on here now. And in person, you can tell that they are 5 different colors. They're not close to each other. So I think for the rest of it, I still will use In the Navy for most of it, but I'm going to have to use these colors every once in a while just to make it balanced. I do think I'll still do all of the initials in the Navy dark blue. And I'll just use this green in a couple of accent places. But I love how it's looking so far. It's kind of like a leftovers, a quilt you make from a patchwork quilt. It kind of reminds me of that because I'm using like patchwork skeins of floss just to see what happens. And the initials, I've decided I'm doing the initials of all of my stitchy friends. It looks so far, of the sections we have so far, that there are going to be a lot of initials on this piece. So I'm just going to keep adding initials of my stitchy friends because I have a lot of stitchy friends. So I'm sure I will have enough for all the initials in this piece. So that's my crazy story about the linen and threads 2020 Stitch Along. The pattern is free. If you go to their website, Linen and Threads, they put a link to the download every month, and you can download those for free, PDF. Feel free to join us. They do have a hashtag, and they also have a Facebook group. I think it's Linen and Threads SAL 2020 or something close to that. But there are lots of people stitching it. It's so fun to see it and all the different colors that people are doing. So enjoying that. Oh, I got a new bag from Rika. It's gorgeous. I love this bag. These colors, oh, makes me want to have spring. I'm also doing the Modern Folk Embroidery 2020 Stitch Along, which is called a Family Patchwork Sampler. And his is not a mystery. He shows you from the beginning what it's going to look like. But it does come out just a month at a time. And I finished February, but I have not started on March. Oh, let's do it this way. That will back it. And here's what I have so far. This is my beautiful Neater Minder from Diana at StitchCon. Thank you, Diana. It's beautiful. This is Mrs. Sedas silk in SuperNova. And then this green, the middle diamond, will be in this Granny Smith green, which is it's a classic Colorworks Belle Soie silk, Granny Smith. So I have a whole hank of Mrs. Sedas SuperNova This is Sedas, is in Spain. She has an Etsy shop. Oh my good gravy. Oh, I give up. I'm so tired. I'm sorry. But I am loving this piece. Love the colors, how they're turning out so far. It is on 25 count even weave, 1 strand over 1 fabric thread. 1 over 1. Oh, and her silk smells so good. It smells like baby powder is what it reminds me of. Oh, and I had another new start. Remember when I said I wasn't going to have any more new starts? For a while? Till Mania. I was stitching with my dear friend Kim. My dear friend. Hello, Kim. I hope you're stitching on this right now. Oh, you're out of town right now. You might not see it till you get back. We were stitching together. Kim, Marie, and Catherine and I. And she was interested in starting Heaven and Earth designs, or was curious about them, was asking lots of questions. I don't know if she had thought about starting one yet. But Marie, just like a week or two earlier, had told me that she was thinking about starting a Heaven and Earth full coverage design. So I told her, oh, there's millions of designs out there. Get out there and find one that you like. So Kim just pulls up, while we're stitching on her phone, pulls up the Heaven and Earth Designs website. And I told her, you know, for your first one, choose something small. Choose one of their QS quick stitch or one of their minis. So it's not just this huge thing in case you hate it and you don't want to do it anymore. So she's just looking through new releases, searching for minis. And like the 5th one, I think, she just went, oh, look at this. So she shows it to me and I had the exact same reaction. I was just like, oh, that is gorgeous. And then she shows it to Marie, who I don't think Marie was there yet. I think Marie got there a little bit later. So then we showed it to her. And then the same thing with Catherine. And all 4 of us had the exact same reaction. So we decided that maybe that was a sign that maybe we should stitch it and maybe we should have it be a stitch along. So it's, this is what it looks like. It's 4 seasons. And yes, it goes around in a... We decided when it's finished and you had it hanging on the wall, you could turn it around to whatever season it currently was. This is the mini version. There is a full version of this. This is the mini version. The artwork is by Jacek Yurka. Jacek. Mini 4 seasons. And I just think it is beautiful. It has, as you're looking at it, the more I look at it, the more funny things I find. So there is a bear. He looks like a big white panda bear that lives in these gardens. In this one, it's just all nice and cozy inside. You just see the warmth. This one, you can actually see his little table with a little tea pot. And you can just see the back of his head over here in his cozy little house. Okay, this one is making me laugh. There's 2 seahorses and bubbles coming up all over, like the shed, the gazebo is full of water. There's like, it's an ocean in there. And then the spring one, you can see him sitting right there inside his door, looking out. There's fun little different things in each of the yards. Very fun. So I went to his website, Jacek Yurka, because I wanted I wanted to print out a bigger picture of the artwork so I could look at it when I was stitching on it. And so when I searched for it, it came up on Amazon as a puzzle. You can buy the same design as a puzzle on Amazon, and the pieces are made out of solid plastic, and they snap together and stay together. So you can you wouldn't have to glue it when you were done. You can just pick it up. It looked really interesting. I'm tempted to try it just because I'm so intrigued by the whole plastic puzzle thing. Oh, sorry. This is... Maybe I should actually show you the stitching. What do you think? this is where I am so far. I am running down this column right here, just on the bottom of these bushes and these few rocks. I have never done a mini before. This whole finished piece will be 10 inches by 10 inches. So what's this paper? 8.5. So this is almost full size of what it will be. These are 11 by 11 Q-snaps, so the whole piece will fit inside of these 11, just barely, probably right to the edge. So it's not a huge project, but I've never done a mini before, and they warn you right on their website that minis tend to be more pixelated than the big ones, obviously, because they've shrunk them down. So I'm just fascinated. I'm so curious to see when I get to something, when I get a little bit more done, how pixelated it is. So that's will be fun to see. Oh, let's see. I was going to tell you, I told you a long time ago, after Catherine did her Heaven and Earth video on how to do a Heaven and Earth design, we found out, Catherine and I, that we don't stitch Heaven and Earth designs exactly the same. So as I was showing Marie how to do it and texting back and forth with Kim, Marie wanted to try it the way that I do it, but I thought I'd share that with you, because everyone does Heaven and Earth designs differently, and really you should just start one and figure out what you like and tweak it to do it the way that makes you happy, which is basically what happens. Catherine and I started out doing it exactly the same, but she tweaked it as she went along, and I tweaked it as I went along, and we went different directions. Catherine likes to do she still does it in 10 by 10 blocks, but she likes to complete each row in that block as she moves down. I like to do all of one symbol in a block, so I'll just pick a symbol and do all of that color, and then I'll park it in the next block. I always move down, so I'll start up here and move down to the bottom, and even when I get to the bottom of a page, I'll just park it in the next block down, which will be on another page when I get to that point. And then I start up here again with all new threads, and then I move down. And then I start up here again with all new threads, and I move down. I'm always moving down. Catherine does hers if you watched her tutorial, she does hers in a snake like this, or she might be doing it this way. And I tried it that way, but I'm too old to remember you have to remember which direction you're going to know where to park your thread next. And I can't keep that in my head when I get tired. It's just easier for me to always be working down. That's all I have to remember is park in the block underneath, because I'm always working down. And then I like doing one color at a time. You do have to kind of move these parked threads around as you're trying to get all the symbols of one color done, but I don't mind that. I do all the parked threads first, and then there's usually a couple of symbols left over that didn't have a thread started on them yet, so I do those last after I've taken care of all the parked threads. And Marie and I decided we liked doing the ones that just have a few symbols. The parked threads that are sitting there, you kind of look at your block and go, oh, this symbol's only used a couple times in this block, and this one's only used like 4. We do all of those parked threads first, the ones that have the fewest symbols, and then we save the ones that have the most symbols for last, because it's easier to get those parked threads out of the ways of the onesie twosies, so that when you're doing the one that has most of the symbols, those threads are out of your way. So I just thought I'd tell you how. Oh, and I knew. Oh no, it's right here. Can't even move. There's so much stuff on the floor. We decided to try different ways. On my 2 current full coverage pieces, I mark the corners of the 10 by 10 squares with pencil. Just the next few squares that I'm going to need that day, I just mark them with pencil, which is not a problem on those pieces because the colors are so dark that pencil is never going to show through. But if this piece is white in the middle, and we knew that those pencil marks would show through on the lighter colors, so we didn't want to do that. So if you're doing a Heaven and Earth design with lighter colors, where that pencil is going to show through, then pencil is not a good idea, because pencil does not wash out. So don't use pencil if you don't have dark colors to cover it up. So this one I was going to try. I wanted to try an ink pen. This is a Dritz Disappearing Ink marking pen. I bought it at Joann's in the Notion section. It's specifically made to use on fabric for quilters and people who sew. They have different ones of these. Even this exact same pen comes in different kinds. I got the fine point because I knew I wanted that extra fine point, and it is a wonderful extra fine point. It is fabulous. For 25 count fabric where you need to get between those two little threads, it's perfect. There is water soluble, or there is like this one. It says disappearing ink, but on the back it says it's water and air soluble. So this will disappear all by itself without getting wet. Because I didn't want to wash. I don't usually wash Heaven and Earth Designs when I'm done. And so I wasn't sure how it would do. It was kind of an experiment. I kind of put it under, since the part I'm working on is really dark colors, I made sure I stayed underneath where it was going to get covered up anyway. But after like 2 days, it's completely gone. You can't see it anymore. So I do have to remark sometimes when I pull, if I haven't worked on it for a couple of days and pull it out, I have to remark my edges, my grid lines again. I don't do the whole line. I just do a tiny little X at the where the 10 by 10 squares meet. It just makes it easier. And I only mark a couple down and maybe one over. It just makes it easier to park the threads, so you don't miscount when you're parking the threads. Gives you some oh, I can't think of any words tonight. I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. So I'm doing the marking pen method. Marie decided, she watched a video from a lady, and I can't remember her YouTube video, what her name was. She uses the fishing line method, where you grid your fabric with fishing line over 6 and under 4 and over 6 and under 4. All the lines this way and then all the lines this way with colored fishing line, so that those are easy to pull out when you've already stitched over them. They'll come out really easily. So Marie's trying that. So she basted her whole piece with the fishing line, and she's stitching that way. So it'll be fun to see. I need to ask her again how she's liking it, what she thinks. She says it's okay. She's having a hard time trying to decide whether to stitch under those fishing line threads or over them. I don't think it really matters. I guess if you stitch over them, it might make your stitches a little looser when they're going over that fishing line. I don't know. We'll let you know. It's an experiment. We'll see. I think I worked on Abecedere Berthe Dupont 1913 since my last video. Here is the whole thing. Catherine Boss Daughter stitched most of this border for me 1 year. I think it took her 2 years actually. 2 years of Mother's Days, not all of 2 years. And I am down here. I finished the bird and started on the house that's next to the bird. So, love how that's looking. I believe this is 28 count even weave. This pattern is still available on the internet to purchase as a PDF download from a French website in France. I'll put the link in the description box below. This is what it will look like when it's finished. I changed the greens to 470 and 471. And then there was a really, this flower was supposed to be in this taupey tan color, and I actually added, I think it's 676 I added to do the flower in. I'll use that taupe where it's called for, like in this house, but whenever it's called for in flowers, I think I'll use that little bit. It's a little bit lighter yellow than this is called for. The 676. For March, my focus piece, my Monday, Wednesday, Friday focus piece. Last month it was the red door. This month, and it's a mania piece. This month will be the March card for my perpetual calendar that you can see right there. It doesn't have on the, it's got the day of the week, and then it has the month, and then it has the numbers, and then the last spot is a seasonal spot or weather, like a holiday, like Christmas or Mother's Day or Halloween. But the original leaflets, it's by Sam Sarah, called Perpetual Calendar Fun Every Day. You have to buy all 12 leaflets to do the whole calendar. Someone asked me recently how they could get the numbers so they could start it without having to buy all the leaflets, but there's only a few numbers in each leaflet. So to get all the number designs, you have to have all of the leaflets, which does get pricey. My sister-in-law and I shared the leaflets. I bought 6 and she bought 6 and we shared them. But there's not a holiday card for every month in the original leaflets. When I made mine, I added several. I changed several of the holidays. I didn't care for the ones, a couple of the holiday cards that they had, and so I made some of my own. And then realized when I was all done that there was not a holiday card for January or one for March still. So I showed you the one I made in January. That one's finished. So this month I'll be finishing the March one, and then that will be, not planning on making any more cards for the perpetual calendar. I'm using this Bent Creek winter. Nope, that was the one I did for January. I'm using the Bent Creek Spring Arches for the March one, and I'm going to do this one with the bird and the nest on it, because March in Utah is muddy. It's kind of muddy and cold. We go up to we were almost in the 60s Sunday, and then Saturday, almost in the 60s on Saturday, and Sunday it snowed all day long. And today it's just cold. The snow hasn't even melted yet. It's still so cold. And then by a Friday or something, we're supposed to be back up to 60. It just keeps going back and forth like that. So it's a very muddy, kind of a chilly month. But you do hear, what I notice in March is that the days are getting longer and the birds are singing. So that's long story to tell you that's why I chose the bird. So I'll do the outsides with the same border that all of the Fun Everyday cards use. They all have that checkerboard border and this orange and black strip across the bottom. And I'll do the birds and the birdhouses from this birds and the nest from this design, and then I'll do some kind of a background behind it that will match the other. I'll choose one of these background designs that will match the other cards. So that's my Monday, Wednesday, Friday piece until it's finished. It won't take the whole month. It will only take a week or two to finish that. And then for the rest of the month, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll work on the linen and threads stitch along and the modern folk embroidery stitch along on those days. And then last 2 months, I was working on Arcade on Tuesdays, Long Dog, and Day and Night on Thursdays, which is also a Long Dog sampler. And I realized, because Mania is coming soon, I'm planning and kitting and getting ready for that I have 2 Mania pieces that have not been touched since May last year. Only 2 that didn't get any love this year. So I decided for the next 2 months, those will be my Tuesday and Thursday pieces. One of them is Mirabilia Sleeping Princess. She will look like this when she's finished. She's Rapunzel. But the pattern is called Sleeping Princess. I love the bright colors in this. I just think it's so pretty. I worked on this Saturday, even though it wasn't March yet. Does it go this way? Yes, it goes this way. During Mania, I had finished this part. So on Saturday, I finished this part and started on this green. It's on a green fabric. You can't really tell if I put something behind it. It's water lily, 32 count water lily, I believe, linen. It's a beautiful light green, minty green fabric. But I love how those, it's the drapery of her, don't know if it's the bedding or her nightgown. That's hanging down. I think it's bedding that's hanging down. So that will be fun to work on. That will be my Tuesday piece for the next 2 months until Mania. Using the called for DMC. I would have bought the called for fabric. I think it was Beach Walk. Yeah, it called for 32 count Beach Walk, and I couldn't find that anywhere when I was kitting it up. So just looking at the color of it, it looked like water lily to me. So that is what I chose. And then my other Mania piece that hasn't had any work on it all year since May is Patchwork Sampler by Yann Holtman. And my plan for this was always to just use all of my silks that I already had. So it will be a true patchwork sampler. So this is the bag of all of the silks, the overdyed variegated silks that I already have from various other projects. I did 3 chatelaines. All the floss left from those in here. I've done several projects with silks. So I'm just going to pick a color out of here for every little motif. I'll try and pick colors that look good together. Sometimes I'm not very good at that. So we'll see what happens. This is what it is looking like so far. This is what I got done last May. I may have worked on it one other day since then, but not very much. So this will be my Thursday piece for the next 2 months. In my Garon toten bag that I got at StitchCon. Okay, I think that's all of the WIPs. That feels like a lot. For haul, oh, there it is. This bin is the, words tonight, my goodness. The short list. This is the short list for Mania. I've just been throwing patterns in here, trying to decide what I want to do for Mania. But one of them for sure is going to be Long Dog Hoity Toity. I have been resisting for a year. Well, I don't know when it came out. Ever since I saw it on Instagram, however long that's been, I have been resisting this, and I have finally broken down. Partly because when I was on Mrs. Sedas' website, buying that hank of SuperNova, I realized that she has a silk conversion for Hoity Toity. So I ordered those. Let's see if I can get them up here so you can see them without losing them. And a brown. Oh, and 2 browns. These are the colors. I'm trying to decide, and her name is Mrs. Sedas. So that will be one of my mania starts. And this is all, she gives you enough silk for the whole project. A couple of them have multiple skeins. But I'm trying to decide, the only color that is not my favorite is this kind of pink. It's her color number 26. It's kind of a pinky red. And with all of these gorgeous fall colors, that one I just thought that I wanted it to be a red, or more of a red. So I took those with me to Stitcher's Paradise in Las Vegas. And chose this crimson. I haven't decided for sure yet, but I might switch the pink out for this red. I'm still thinking about it. And then also while I was there, oh, I have to find the pattern to show you that. This one, I've known I was going to do this for Mania for almost a year. It's called Tomato Season. I grew up with homegrown tomatoes. My husband and I have grown tomatoes almost every year that we've been married, except for the last 2. And when I saw this, I just loved this pattern. I thought, oh, I need to do that. We love tomatoes so much. So I knew I was going to do this one, but when I pulled the colors, the color of that tomato is 921, I believe. It's either 920 or 921, which is a very orangey, coppery color. Not like the tomatoes that we grow. So my husband came into Stitcher's Paradise for just a few minutes, and then he went out to the car. But we were looking through all the silks, and I said, pick one that looks like a big, really ripe beefsteak tomato that you're going to put on a sandwich. So we finally ended up choosing Glorianna Red. It's a little darker. Well, you probably can't see it. This crimson is a little more red. These are a little more, it's a darker maroony red. He felt like this was the color of the tomatoes that we grow. So I'm going to change, and it's got several, I think it's got 919, 920, and 921 in it. So I'll just find some other DMC colors that are close to this. But for that whole huge tomato, it's going to be this color. And then I already told you about the In the Navy that I bought while I was there. Beautiful. And they were so nice in that store. So nice. When I ordered my skein of SuperNova, my hank of SuperNova from Mrs. Sedas, when it came, she had included this in my order. The color is Darling. And it is beautiful. I'll need to find something to use that on because it is gorgeous. Oh, and I also bought a bag of Floss Away bags while I was there at Stitcher's Paradise because I had brought Lost No More with me to my hotel room in Las Vegas, and I was separating all the threads in the kit, figuring out what color they were, putting them in baggies, and I knew I hadn't brought enough baggies, so I bought some of those. And I keep hearing in the cross stitch community that, how DMC black, it just always feels like it doesn't cover very well, DMC black. And I keep hearing people say, oh, you should try Anchor. Try Anchor black. It covers a little better than DMC. I have no idea if that's true or not, but I bought some Anchor black while I was there at Stitcher's Paradise just to see. I'll let you know what I think. Thought it'd be interesting to try. And then I also bought, here's the Stitcher's Paradise card that she gave me. So I could call her if I needed to. And she'd ship it to me if I needed something. And then I bought 2 scissor fobs. This one says Choose Joy. And this one says Just Breathe. And I just thought they were pretty. And amazingly enough, that was all I purchased, which is amazing. I think that's all the haul. This is all the old haul that I haven't put away yet. I spent the entire day, Saturday, probably 3 hours, not the entire day, 3 hours filing all of my DMC floss that I haven't filed. For when I finish a project, I throw all the floss into a wooden box I have that's about this. It's about a 10 by 10 by 10 box. I just throw it in there, and then when it gets full, I file it all. Well, I knew that I was getting ready to start kitting up Mania projects, so I had to file it. And it was completely full, overflowing with floss. So I did all the DMC Saturday. It took 2 or 3 hours. I still need to work on all of the other floss in there that was not DMC to get it all filed and put away so that when I'm kitting for Mania, I can find what I'm looking for. I did purchase the pattern for Serenity Harbor. It's by the Bay Needleworks is the name of the company. She has an Etsy store. I purchased her Serenity Harbor pattern. I just think that is the most gorgeous pattern I have ever seen. I am trying to talk myself out of starting that for Mania because it's a large project, and I have quite a few large projects going right now. So I did purchase it, but I don't know if I will buy it. And I need to print the color sheet of what it looks like so I can show it to you. I'll show that to you next time. I don't think I'm going to show you what's in my Mania shortlist yet. I'll probably wait and do that on the next video because this is already an hour. And this was supposed to be a quick video. But I'm losing my voice and I'm very tired and it's time to go to bed. So I think I'll quit. Have a great day and I hope you get lots of stitching in. Bye-bye.